Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to propagate and divide an alocasia black velvet. Okay, so first things first, alocasias are super easy to divide and to propagate. Okay, so this plant, I had it outside last year for the summer to try and get some, some good natural sunlight and good weather, humidity, etc. Get rained on, all the good things that the outside will bring to the plant. However, the container I had it in, well, it didn't have very good drainage or got clogged up, and I kind of forgot it because it was behind other plants. And it was really waterlogged, and I thought it was dead, quite honestly. It had one little tiny leaf sticking out. So I rescued the plant, dried it all out, and I kept it inside all summer because I did not want to repeat that. However, this plant has responded amazingly. If you look down in here, guys, get this leaf out of the way, you can see all this new growth coming out right here. Right here on the stem, you see another leaf right in here is about to emerge, just coming out right here. And this is what it will look like if you go a little bit longer right here with this leaf coming out. So this isn't an active growth time. It's not dormant because alocasias will have a dormant period, which is not the best time to divide and propagate in my experience. However, this plant is probably very root bound, and at the very least, it has a very clear distinction of two separate stems right here that can be divided into two separate plants. It's super easy. Stick with me, guys. I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and get this pot very gently turned on its side. You want to kind of support the stems here. I have this plastic laid down to kind of collect any of the soil. And yeah, that's kind of fight me. So you really don't want to pull it out because you could damage some of the roots. But it is coming out slowly. And I imagine this is going to be very root bound. All right, so let me get that pot out of the way. And here's what we are left with. Okay, so this is a healthy root system. It's not nearly as root bound as I thought it would be. That's okay. That's time to divide this plant anyways, but look how healthy these roots are. Super good growth, very healthy. They're white, so if they were dark brown or kind of soft and rotting, that means you had some root rot. These do not. This is a very healthy plant. And if you can kind of look here, some of the roots are kind of, the aerial roots are starting to form, which is another great sign of the health of your plant. And what these alocasias will do are set corms, okay, not bulbs, they are corms, which right here you can kind of see this little growth right here is putting on some new leaves and new growth there. So we can always divide these off and turn those into more plants while we divide. So there is that, guys. Now, if you look really closely down in here, now see these are going to produce lots of new growth. So this is what we want to try to preserve, is you want to kind of look at the plant itself and see where the natural division is, which of course is like right here, but you need to make sure you have this really nice growth right here. You don't want to saw right through it. So you need to find out where it's kind of coming from, which is right here. So we're going to cut actually on the other side of this to kind of preserve the growth. Okay, so we'll do as little damage as possible to the plant. So what we're going to do here, got this nice sharp knife, and just look at all the nice healthy roots down here. So this is what you want to make sure you don't just start cutting things that like I said, you want to try to do as little damage as possible to show the plant, give it the ability to recover as easily as it can. So I think right about here is going to be the halfway point. We want to keep on what side? I'm going to keep this right here and just very kind of firmly cut through it. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so there you go. The plant is now divided equally in half. Now this can be, like I mentioned, you can actually just put this into two separate pots, which I'm going to do here. But let's go ahead and look through this dirt here, see if there any of the corms have been formed, which I don't really see any right away, which is fine. But we do have two very healthy plants, and I think this is going to kind of do one of these numbers and pop out, and it's going to continue growing. So if you're very adventurous, you may want to try to cut one of these off, but I don't need that many more plants. But this is very healthily divided into two separate plants, which will be transplanted and they'll grow just fine. So let's go ahead and show you how I'm going to do that and talk about the growing medium I'm going to put them into. Okay, so before we repot these two divisions here, let's talk about the soil. Now, alocasias do like a little bit more water than most other your houseplants you want to typically let dry out completely. So they do need to have a little bit of moisture preserving soil. So, but they also need a lot of drainage and air. Okay, so this is the old soil, and you can see it's kind of broken down, but it has a lot of perlite. Okay, and that's what this is right here, perlite. So what I'm going to do for this new cutting is made a new mix for myself I've been using. Now this has a lot of peat moss in it. It has some orchid bark, and it has a lot of perlite, as you can see right here. So I like to use new soil because this soil I was kind of inspecting yesterday, and it does have a few little microscopic little insects in it, which, you know, may not be hurting anything. These plants are obviously doing just fine, but you know, when you have the chance to repot, this is the time to get new soil. Okay, so you want to start fresh. So this is a very nice light soil, and it really, you know, it's dry right now, but you can kind of tell the different levels of peat moss and just the chunks of wood that are bark that's going to help with the drainage. So it's really simple, guys. What I like to do is kind of get a base in my container like this. You just want to kind of try to find the level that the plant is going to sit at. So this is about the soil level that the plant is going to sit at when it's finally done. So what I like to do is hold the plant and just kind of fill around it. So we call it the hold and fill method, or I don't know how you want to, what you want to call it, but this is what I do, and this is what works the best. You don't really want to kind of cram the roots in there. So I'm holding it so that the roots can kind of naturally hang at their at a level that they were originally at in the other pot. And it's hard to see with these plants. These alocasias get big, long leaves on them, and you know, leaves. So it's hard to see. So I'll take you really close when it's all done here. But again, let's go ahead and kind of stop here for right now. I'm going to show you one other thing. Now right here, this is the cut point. Okay, so you really want to let that dry over and you know, callus up a little bit before you transplant this. Okay, the plant's not going to die right away. I'm just kind of demonstrating to you guys how to do that just for the purpose of this video. But I'm going to go ahead and just simulate the fact that we let this callus over. If you want, it's not a bad idea to put some antifungal, some kind of like powder on that as well to prevent any kind of rot into the soil. And once you do have it all completely topped off, you want to water lightly. Okay, so you don't want to saturate this as plants go underneath some transplant shock or some things getting used to the new environment being separated from the other main plant. So this plant will recover very easily. This was not a major operation. The division was pretty straightforward. It was just one cut down the middle. And with no time at all, this plant is going to recover and continue putting on more growth with less competition for roots. So it should really take off, and you should get some of these really, really big leaves, such as like this with the new growth. These leaves are getting bigger as the plant matures. So some of the younger growth was really small compared to some of the bigger growth. And you know, with the new pot and fresh soil, it's just going to take off. So I'm going to go ahead and pot these up the rest of the way, give them a little bit of water, and show you the final results. Okay, first, I'm going to give you one other tip. So if you want to add increased drainage to your pots, and this has a hole in the bottom, a little water catching ring, but you know, like you said, you don't want the alocasia to sit in standing water. So this is an old broken terracotta pot, no thanks to the cat. Okay, so very simply, I'm just going to place these down so it kind of gives it like the curve, which is going to keep air, so any excess water will kind of, you know, get underneath this and give the roots a chance to basically not be in standing water if you tend to overwater your plants. And then, like I showed you the first time, we're just going to go ahead and put a nice little base layer down in the new pot here. And then once again, you get your plant. You're going to find the level at which it was growing previously. Hold it just like that. And then very easily, very slowly, don't need to be in a hurry, make a giant mess. But more importantly, you don't want to damage the plant. This is a very delicate process right now for the plant, as you're basically giving it a lot of, you know, things to deal with here. Roots are getting repositioned and twisted around and, you know, things like this. But you do want to make sure you don't put too much soil that you're going to cover it up to here, which was not the original growing point. Okay, so the growing point was right here. You can kind of see by that little aerial root trying to find the soil right there. So you don't really want to bury that per se. That's going to give you an idea of where you want to keep the soil level. If you put it any deeper, you can get some stem rot, which is going to kill your plant, which is not good. You don't want that. Look how beautiful this plant is, guys. Do you want to kill this plant? Of course not. So I'm showing you how the best way to do this. Now it's going to be kind of flimsy in the pot right now because you just transplanted it. So once you water it in and kind of tuck it in, it's going to be doing okay. But if you really think that the plant needs some support, you can get a little rock or something else to kind of prop it up until it kind of refines its vigor and kind of reestablish itself back in the container. So that's that. Now let me go ahead and get some water and put a little bit of fertilizer on the plant this time to help it kind of really break through that transplant shock. And we'll go ahead and wrap up this video. All right, guys, so the final step, you need to water in your plants after you've done the transplanting and dividing, okay? So now it's very important with alocasias to use rainwater. If you must use tap water, use distilled water, let it sit out for a couple of days to evaporate as much of the chlorine and other things that are in the plant. If you use a lot of tap water, you'll notice the leaves, the brown tips will happen on the leaves. They're very susceptible to that. These plants have really none. This, I think, is actually sunburn from some being too close to the window, which is normal. You know, your plants aren't always going to be perfect, but for the most part, these plants are doing fantastic. Now, what I like to use with my water is this just tropical houseplant food by Miracle-Gro, unsponsored. Use whatever you want. I like this just because you can actually just get your big, you know, once you go to the rain barrel, get, you know, your gallon jug or whatever you're using, 5-gallon bucket. You can kind of use the ingredients, the instructions on the back, I should say, and just, you know, put the mini pumps in as it's recommended, and you can actually then just forget about having to scoop and all this kind of stuff, which I don't like to do anyways. But anyways, after that, you just want to kind of lightly water this in. You should get all the way around it. You really try and get all those air pockets out of the soil. I like to add a little bit and just kind of let it sit and soak down. I don't want to really flood the plant out. And I'll do the same with this one over here. Now this one does have a bottom catchment on it, so I don't want to overwater it to the point that it's going to have some standing water in the bottom. So there you go. Shouldn't be easier than that, guys. You get 2 plants now out of 1. It's going to continuously keep growing, and with new soil, nice dose of fertilizer, and some more room for the roots to kind of spread out, these plants are going to take off and produce even bigger, more beautiful leaves. So hopefully this video helped you guys whenever it's time for you to divide up your allocations. If it's just overgrown, or maybe you just want to divide the plant to make propagations to sell, trade, give away, whatever it may be. There you go. So that's what I got for you today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Check back next time for more houseplant and gardening information and tutorials. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.